Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon podcast. This is our final preseason preview. Joining me, as always, is my friend John Santucci. Tooch, what's going on, Tooch?
Oh, hey, Joe, man, I'm fired up because fantasy football is here tomorrow.
Yeah, buddy.
For us, a draft, and this season starts Thursday. It's like a really exciting time right now.
It's Christmas in September.
It sure is.
That's right, buddy, and we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, hopefully we can get through it in a half hour or so.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. First thing on our list is let's talk about Ezekiel Elliott. News just coming through that after his appeal, his 6-game suspension has been upheld, but he is still expected to play this Sunday against the Giants.
Yeah, this is really confusing. But I guess is it just one game he's going to play? And this is kind of like why I'm kind of trying to alter my draft strategy to avoid Zeke, even though just because the situation's so murky.
It really is murky, John. And I got to say, I think the process isn't over here. I imagine he's going to take it to the next level of court, and I imagine it's going to be something very similar to what Tom Brady went through a couple years ago with the Deflategate. So what I'm thinking is I don't think he's going to serve any games.
Yeah, if it's like Deflategate, then I imagine Zeke will play the whole season. So, yeah, and he's still, people are still staying away from him. I'm seeing Devontae Freeman going instead. Zeke maybe going end of the first round, beginning of the second round still, even with this, recent news.
Yeah, I had a couple of drafts on Sunday, and one of them I had the third pick. I had the fourth pick. I had the fourth pick, and I ended up taking Zeke because I didn't expect him to serve any time. And then in my other draft, he didn't go until the third round.
Wow, that is late. Yeah, it's an interesting situation, and I imagine you're right that it's probably going to be like Deflategate. Do we have a gate for this yet? Zeke gate. Okay, I just want to make sure we had our gate covered.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they do have that video of him from St. Patrick's Day, groping that woman, and that's all on tape. And he's like, oh, well, she thought it was cool. She said it was okay, but, you're in public, you're an NFL player. You have to hold yourself to a better standard than that. Yeah,
and, I mean, I hate to make excuses. He is a young guy. I think he's only, 21 or 22. But still, I mean, you got to know better. At the beginning of the year, these NFL teams have, classes and seminars on just this kind of thing, like situations and, what to avoid and how to behave in public, how to take care of your money, how to, do this and that, because it is a big problem.
It really is. And Zeke is a guy who really has shot himself in the foot. I mean, he had the world in his hands and kind of making things difficult for himself.
Yeah. I imagine, he's still going to be one of the top running backs if he does play all season. You're going to get a great season out of him regardless. They have that great offensive line, and just know that you could end up with losing him part of the season. There's always that chance if it doesn't go the way Zeke wants it to go.
Yep, and as a reminder, everyone, with Zeke, I would highly recommend going to get Alfred Morris if he's still available, but odds are he probably got drafted anyway.
Yeah, or Darren McFadden, I think, is going to get a lot of touches if Zeke is out too, right?
Yep, I imagine both of those guys will be very active.
All right.
But let's move on to our next big chunk of news, John. This is going to affect every fantasy player in week 1 of the season. The Buccaneers-Dolphins game has been canceled because of Hurricane Irma, and instead of moving it somewhere else, it sounds like both of these teams are going to make up the game during their bye week, which is in November. So that means the Buccaneers and the Dolphins have their bye in week 1.
I don't think I've ever encountered a situation like this before where a team had their bye in week 1. I mean, that's going to be hard on the teams, especially, they're playing 16 games in a row, and
yep, and
it's awful tough for your first lineup, your first week's lineup.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that the league has not officially said they're going to play it during their bye week yet. It's just what's being reported. But the game is definitely canceled from Sunday on Sunday in Florida. So if they do play, it will be somewhere else.
Yeah,
but
there's no other site they could play it at, or
That's what it sounds like. And then, I mean, and both teams share the same bye week, so it just seems like a natural solution.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering, like the Atlanta stadium is not too far away. It's a dome. And Atlanta's up here in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, and the NFL may change things up, may change their tone in the coming days, because I imagine these teams will probably have some pushback about having no bye. So this is something we can keep an eye on. But for now, I took all Buccaneers and Dolphins out of my lineup.
Yeah, both those teams have some really great fantasy players too. I mean, I'm sure lots of people have Mike Evans and Jay Ajayi and Devontae Parker, Cameron Brate, Deshaun Jackson, Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I
Jarvis Landry.
Yep, Jarvis Landry, who's also facing possible suspension.
Right.
But I have Winston and Ajayi on the same team, and I've already swapped them out for Phillip Rivers and for Amir Abdullah, just in case this game does end up being scheduled for November, which it sounds like is the NFL's preferred option.
Yeah, so I mean, those people are going to it's going to be hard because your roster's set right now. And you're not really thinking about dropping anybody, but some people may have to drop an end of the bench player and pick up somebody to cover a spot in their lineup. Any ideas of who you might pick up out there, Joe?
Man, there's some slim pickings out there, but I will tell you that in most of my leagues, if you have a flex spot in your league, and say you lost Jay Ajayi, who you have in your flex for some reason, you can go and pick up Danny Amendola, who I'm not seeing drafted in a couple of my leagues so far, who is probably going to have a big role in this game against Kansas City on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a good call. Now, I'm thinking of a couple guys I got in mind. I'm thinking Shane Vereen on the Giants and Chris Thompson on the Redskins, just to fill in, for one of those running backs you might not have if you have somebody on either the Dolphins or the Buccaneers. Some of those guys aren't drafted.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. It really is. It makes things really tough when you're trying to make that call and the official news isn't out there yet. I'm assuming we should have the official run through from the league tomorrow morning, but man, it kind of makes things really complicated, especially when we have our draft tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully we find out ahead of time so we can draft accordingly. There's some wideouts out there too. I'm wondering if like Corey Coleman or Zay Jones might still be available, or Robbie Anderson on the Jets. Some of those guys might fill in quick if you have a wide receiver need.
Yeah, I will tell you, Zay Jones is actually starting to go earlier and earlier in my drafts. I took him in my first draft, I think in the 11th or 12th round. And then the draft that I did after that, he went like in the 9th.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, because I think it's last game he had like 6 catches.
Well, people are starting to realize that he's the only thing that they've really got.
Yeah.
Him and Shady, of course.
Yeah, so it's a number one wide receiver there, so he might not be available. But Corey Coleman, I think, had like 6 catches his last preseason game too. So, and I don't know if he's getting drafted, but him and Deshaun Kaiser seem to have a pretty good connection. So, and then there's Chris Conley on the Chiefs, might be a good pickup if you have like a wide receiver need.
Yep, and let's talk a little bit about the quarterback position. If you have Jameis Winston like myself or Jay Cutler, you probably don't have Cutler, but if you do in a 2-quarterback league, who can you replace him with? Well, I can tell you one thing. In all my leagues, Joe Flacco did not get drafted at all. Now, I'm not saying he's a safe play by any means because he's going to be rusty, but he has big play potential and he's got that arm.
Yeah, he does. And nobody threw the ball more last year than Joe Flacco. So if he's healthy, that's an if. That would be a good pickup. And, of course, Brian Hoyer on the 49ers might be a sneaky pick as well. And Deshaun Kaiser on the Browns.
I even like Scott Tolzien this week for the Colts just because of the quality receiving options he has.
Yeah, he does. Got some good receivers, And a local kid, too. I think he went to high school right up here in Palatine.
Always good to see those Illinois boys representing.
Yeah, and I'm sure you could probably get Deshaun Watson or Sam Bradford. They're probably still out there.
Well, Watson, I don't believe is going to be starting. I think Tom Savage is the starter.
Okay, so you could probably pick up Savage then.
Yeah, Savage could be a sneaky option too.
Yeah, Trevor Siemian on Denver.
Yeah, but they got to watch out. Another bit of fantasy news is that Brock Osweiler now signs with the Broncos.
Right, that's a good point there. I imagine it might be a good chance of him starting up there eventually if Siemian falters. And I know Siemian had some injury issues last year. And
Paxton Lynch has been injured as well. So no time like the present for Brock Osweiler.
I forgot. That's right. That he landed there in Denver. He's back home again.
Yeah, funny how that stuff works out.
Yeah, and speaking of back home again, I think Jeremy Curley's back home again.
He is. Looks like Jeremy Curley signed today with the New York Jets. Could be a very, very sneaky option, especially in PPR leagues.
Yes, and you know who else might be a sneaky option?
Who?
The guy who replaced Curley in San Francisco is a guy. I think his name is Marquise Goodwin.
Marquise Goodwin. That's right.
That his name? And he's kind of like one of those deep threats like Taylor Gabriel on the Falcons. So pay attention on that guy because they like to Kyle Shanahan likes to throw the ball. So I know Garcon is looking good this year. He had like 7 out of 8 targets caught his last preseason game. Heavily targeted. So Marquise Goodwin could be, he's a starting wide receiver in the NFL. So.
Yep, you got to keep an eye on the waiver wire. There's always guys like that explode and they have huge seasons. So would not be surprised to see him be one of those guys.
Yeah.
And we did talk about Scott Tolzien starting for Andrew Luck, but let's talk a little bit about Andrew Luck's injury. What are we expecting out of Luck? I mean, he doesn't look like he's going to be ready to play anytime soon.
Right, I know. They took him off the PUP list, which means he could play sooner than week 7. But there's no information available on Andrew Luck. I just don't know, and I wonder if he's getting drafted out there in leagues.
He's going later and later, and in my first draft, he went in round 12 or 13, and in the last draft I did, he wasn't even drafted.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think I did a mock draft. I picked him up in the 10th round because he was just sitting there, But then I'm like, what if he doesn't play this season? So we don't know if he's even going to play this season. I know it's that shoulder,
right?
The one shoulder that's bothered him, and it's his throwing shoulder. Yeah, I just don't know. I'm going to have to stay away from him. I mean, if I get someone like maybe Breeze or Rodgers, I might consider taking Luck in the 12th round.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's definitely worth a risky kind of late round pick, but I could definitely see why nobody wants to draft him earlier.
Yeah, I've never seen a situation like that either before, where you just don't know if because of injury if he's going to play or not.
Right, and it tells you a little bit too about what they're feeling because they traded Philip Dorsett to the Patriots for Jacoby Brissett.
Right, so they needed someone behind Tolzien, and then of course the Patriots will try and make an Edelman out of Dorsett.
Well, I imagine he'll be working heavily out of the slot, and he's a speedy young guy, another guy to keep on your waiver watch list. Yeah,
I agree. That could be a sneaky pickup, and maybe he'll reach his potential with the Patriots, where he just but the Patriots have no shortage of weapons, so he might not get too much attention there, because they have a lot of weapons.
Yeah, definitely a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah.
But, one of those mouths will be Brandon Cooks. One of those mouths will be Gronk. The rest of it's kind of to be decided.
And I love James White this year, too. He's just always seems to be, the guy that Belichick loves to go to. Brady and Belichick love to go to him, third down near the goal line, 2-minute drill. this is a guy. They love James White. They'll run him on a little screen pass. Plus, they'll put him in the slot, and sometimes they'll sneak out of the backfield and get downfield on a fly. So James White is a great pickup. I just love that pick. I've drafted him a bunch of times in mock drafts.
Yeah, I mean I'm in a 12-man league and I drafted Zeke and then I drafted Ty Montgomery. I drafted Zeke and Ty Montgomery.
Love that pick. I love Ty Montgomery this year. And he's playing in a great offense. He's built his body up. He's tougher. So yeah, I love that Ty Montgomery pick.
And with the announcement of Zeke being out, I'm like, oh man, who am I going to put in his place, right? And I'm like, oh, look who I got on my bench, James White.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he opens the season Thursday night. You may get a good look at him too.
Well, it sounds, but if Zeke's actually playing, I can tell you who I'm starting.
Yeah, exactly. We got to find out. Yeah, well, you got to find out before Thursday, right?
Yeah, right. Well, if not, I have Gio Bernard, so I guess I got options.
Yeah, also a good third down back too.
A guy going really, really late, it could provide you with a lot of value too.
Yeah, I agree. He is provided he's healthy. Again, he looks healthy. Jeremy Hill's kind of battling a little injury. And then, of course, you have the rookie Joe Mixon. Gio Bernard could be a guy that they kind of look to for a little stability, especially on third down.
Gotta love that, man. And it's kind of a nice segue here. We're talking about James White. Kansas City, New England coming up coming up Thursday. That's going to be an awesome game to start the season, John.
Yeah, a little repeat of, actually a bunch of history. Of course, Brady, I think, a preseason game against Kansas City, he injured his knee. He was out for the season. It was about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
You remember that? And
it's on the exact anniversary of that game. How about that?
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's pretty unreal.
Yeah, this game is in New England, I think.
Yes, it is. They're going to be unveiling their 5th championship banner.
Wow. Yeah, and I like New England in this game. You and I probably both like New England in this game. I just think Kansas City's Kansas City has a really tough schedule this year. I think they're gonna struggle against New England's defense in this game. And Kansas City, of course, still has a pretty good defense. Of course, Kansas City has the second hardest schedule in the NFL this year, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of like them to take a step back.
Yeah, it's a pretty brutal schedule that they have.
They got some weapons still. Tyreek Hill, we talked about him in our AFC West preview. Mm-hmm. He's a guy that, every 11 times he touched the ball last year, he got a touchdown, and he's just blazing fast. There's nobody. When he steps his feet out on that field on Thursday night, he's the fastest player in that field.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, man. Tyreek Hill can smoke anyone one-on-one. And with that combo with Travis Kelce, if they put him on the same side of the field, how do you choose between those guys?
Yeah, they'll play high-low on you there. And, Tyreek Hill, he could be a game changer in this game. But I still like New England in this game. What do you think?
I still do, too. I think New England's too good. They just added so many fast guys in the offseason. I look for Brandon Cooks to have a real big coming out party. I think especially with Edelman down, Cooks is going to get a couple shots down the sideline, and I expect at least one of those to go to the house.
Yeah, and of course they're going to counter Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce with Cooks and Gronk. So pretty evenly matched there. I think Brady is going to be the difference. Tom Brady is. I was watching some Super Bowl highlights, against the Falcons, that comeback he had. Man, he just throws a perfect ball like nearly every time, where his receiver can make a play with it. Even at his age, he still has some zip on the ball. He's just a great player.
He is, and he keeps himself in peak physical condition. The guy is just he treats his body as a temple, and it shows on the field. Obviously, you and I are both big fans of Tom. We both like Alex Smith, too, but we think his time in Kansas City is probably starting to wind down.
Yeah, I just think they're looking for a little more arm strength, and what we'll see. fantasy relevant players in this game are going to be guys like Kareem Hunt and Tariq Hill and Travis Kelce on Kansas City side. Of course, both defenses. And then Brady and James White, like you said, Brandon Cooks and Gronkowski. And then, there's some other guys that might mix in there on the wide receivers. But we'll see. It's going to be a great game. That's for sure.
No doubt. I am so ready. I'm getting my popcorn ready. I'm ready for our draft tomorrow. For our work league, it's gonna get awesome. Lots of smack talk, lots of good times, and most of all, lots of football.
Yeah, I know. I've been practicing my drafting, so we'll see. I'm sure I'll probably make some mistakes anyway, so it's hard not to.
I mean, it's impossible to have a perfect draft because no one can see into the future.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, unless you got Marty McFly in your fantasy league. Watch out for Marty and Doc Brown.
Well, we do have some good drafters in our work league, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, we sure do.
Makes it harder.
It's going to be 12 or 11 guys and one lady, and boy, oh boy, everyone knows their stuff, so we gotta be ready, and I might do a few more mocks. Maybe I'll do a few more mocks tonight just to get pumped up.
Yeah, I usually have one on my train ride in and one on my train ride home. So that's about 2 a day. I think I've gone over 150. So
I think you're ready, John.
Yeah, I'm ready.
and most importantly, we get our first draft against each other this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about a little breakdown, maybe one of our future podcasts.
Yeah, definitely.
See what grade Yahoo gives us this year. Last year, John and I both got D's and D minuses, and we both went to the championship game. I lost to John, but I think Yahoo's wrong.
Yeah, it was. I remember after we got our grades, you and I were both like, I really like my team, though. I don't know what the heck is going on with these grades and stuff, but turns out you and I were right and Yahoo was wrong.
Hopefully that trend continues, John.
Yeah, I do too.
But let's move on to what we have as our final segment. The Goon and John's waiver wire picks. Let's talk about guys you could look at for the coming weeks, or if you're in a bind this week with the Tampa Bay Miami game. Who you got this week, John?
Well, I like Corey Coleman again. I mentioned him before. I know he had Deshaun Kaiser was really targeting him. He's a guy that has a lot of potential. I mean, I think I know people are drafting Kenny Britt ahead of him. I think the people who take Corey Coleman after Kenny Britt are going to be a little happier.
Oh, for sure. He's a guy that, to me, could kind of have like a Josh Gordon kind of coming out party. I know when he first came out of the woodwork, everyone was crazy about Josh Gordon, and I think he could have that same kind of effect.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and another one, maybe not this week, but I like Chris Conley too. He's, not against New England, it'll be a little tough this week. He's got a tough matchup, but something to look at. And then another guy I like is, how I feel about Lamar Miller, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I kind of think he's a bum. The numbers are there, he's good, but man, the guy, he just never seems to do anything. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, man.
So I really like this kid, Dante Foreman. I think there's just no way he's not going to be starting one day. This season, I think he's just too talented. And Lamar Miller's just too much of a bum, and Alfred Blue is injured. I really like this guy is like a backbench stash.
Yeah, I could definitely.
What do you think about Dante Foreman?
I think he's going to be awesome. I'm not as high on him as you are. I think he's going to be great. I just don't see him starting this year unless Miller gets hurt, which is possible. I definitely think he's worth stashing on a bench. Could be a guy that, if he gets an opportunity when, Miller gets hurt, he could, take over that role potentially. But like I said, I think Miller's going to be pretty good this year, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I just think you're going to see Miller taking a breather, Foreman coming in and ripping off some 20-yard runs, 40-yard runs. Pretty soon the guy's starting.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just me. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I like him, though. I'm with you. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, this kid's got big play potential, and, man, he's a load. He's tough to bring down. We'll see. I think it's a good stash with, like, your 16th round pick, and you might strike gold. Not like Jordan Howard did last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure if you have a keeper or a dynasty league, he's a guy that you definitely got to scoop up.
Yeah, I think next year maybe or the year after we'll be talking about him as a first-round pick.
Could be. I mean, the kid's explosive, and, I mean, we both like him. You just like him a little bit more than I do.
Yeah. Well, how about you? You got any deep bench waiver wire pickups?
I do, and they actually – all four guys are on the same team.
Wow.
You and I both love the Patriots this year, John, and there's a bunch of guys on this Patriots team that you could pick up now because they probably weren't drafted in your league. First guy on that list is Danny Amendola. We talked a little bit about earlier. Playing out of the slot and trying to replace Amendola. Trying to replace Edelman. He can't replace himself, but. I think Danny Amendola is going to have an expanded role, kind of what he was originally brought to the Patriots to do. I'm expecting to see, a lot of work for him, and especially in like PPR leagues, he could be a really sneaky pick. I mean, he may have gotten drafted late, but if he's available, I think he's a great guy to go scoop up.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. He's kind of like Edelman light, and Edelman's obviously a little faster. And, he's got a little bit more moves, but Amendola knows how to get open, and it's a good call. There's a lot of mouths to feed over there in New England.
Yep.
Like you said. Who's the other one you're looking at?
Well, I got two wide receivers, a running back, and a tight end. The other wide receiver is the guy that they just traded for, and Philip Dorsett. He's a speedy guy, very similar to Edelman. I think he's actually faster. And got, hands not quite as good, but he's pretty darn good. Maybe finally live up to his potential in New England. It'll take some time to get him familiar with the playbook, but I think, in week 2, 3, maybe even week 4, he could be a guy that is going to give a lot of value. I wouldn't necessarily pick him up right away, but I think he's a guy that I'm keeping on all my watch lists.
Well, yeah, then players that go to New England usually find success. It's just a great coaching staff over there, and guys just seem to blossom over there,
Oh, no doubt about it. That's why I like Dorsett. And then number 3 on my list is a running back that everyone seems to forget about in Dion Lewis. I mean, that guy is explosive. He's fast. He catches passes out of the backfield. And I know there's a lot of mouths to feed in that backfield in New England, but Dion Lewis has been absolutely fantastic when he's on the field.
Yeah, I had him 2 years ago, and he won the league for me. 2 years ago, he was fantastic. I picked him up, and it was before kind of before James White had broke out, and that's the thing. All these guys, New England really knows how to use those weapons, and I'm not sure Bill Belichick hates fantasy football because he just doesn't care. He just uses everybody.
Yeah.
It's like a big middle finger to fantasy football players.
Yeah, but I mean, but if Dion Lewis is out there and he didn't get drafted in either of my leagues, he's one of those guys that, if he starts getting involved immediately in this pass attack, he could have a whole lot of value.
Yeah, he's definitely him and James White. They're both, I kind of like White a little bit better just because of the track record, especially in the Super Bowl. Man, he should have been Super Bowl MVP, or he could have been, but I know.
Oh, sure. But we're talking about if you want James White, you got to take him between probably the 9th and 11th round. If you want Dion Lewis, you could probably get him off waivers right now.
Yeah, you probably could, yeah. You'd probably get Rex Burkhead, too, off waivers.
That, too.
Yeah. And
then the last guy I have on this list here is the tight end, the second tight end, and Bill Belichick, he loves those second tight end sets. Dwayne Allen, still going undrafted in every league I've been in so far. He could have an Aaron Hernandez back when he was still playing, of course, effect on this team in terms of production and touchdowns in the red zone.
Yeah, especially on the goal line, they love that second tight end, much to the dismay of Gronk owners. But yeah, it's a good call. My sleeper tight end pick is Evan Engram of the Giants, who they're kind of using almost like a wide receiver.
Oh, I love
this
him.
This guy's been he's getting heavily targeted by Manning, and I tell you what, he's gonna with Odell Beckham and Brandon Marshall and Sterling Shepard running around out there, he's gonna get a lot of little underneath routes, safe passes. He's got the athleticism to turn those into 20-yard gains, and I wouldn't be surprised if this guy's getting like 3 to 8 catches every game.
Yeah, I mean, Engram is going to be a phenomenal tight end. I mean, he's kind of like Gronk Jr. in terms of how he's on the field and how he's just kind of like manhandling guys.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of targets, and he's going to be good in the red zone too. He knows how to get open. And Brandon Marshall, of course, is a good red zone target too. But don't fall asleep on this Engram kid. I think he's going to do really well. I think he might be. He might be, when all is said and done, one of the best rookies this season.
Yeah, I expect him to be up for that Rookie of the Year award this year. I expect him to finish behind McCaffrey just because you and I both love McCaffrey, but I think he's going to be up there in that conversation.
Yeah, I think McCaffrey, like I said, catch 60 balls this year. If you're playing PPR, man, that's really good.
Oh, yeah, and you're just kind of licking your chops looking at that offense right now.
Yep. Yeah, another couple other deep sleepers are I like Chris Thompson. You and I talked about him before.
Mm-hmm.
He has a really good role. While they're still trying to find out who the lead back is. Right now it's Rob Kelly. Of course they drafted Samaje Perine, but Chris Thompson, even regardless of who starts, first and second down, Chris Thompson will be their third down.
Oh yeah, he's really underrated player too. And it's worth noting that today he got paid. He got a 2-year extension for about $6 million.
Yep, that's right. So, yeah, he could catch 50 balls this year. It's not out of the question that Kirk Cousins and the Redskins like to throw the ball.
I mean, I want to get whatever piece of that Redskins offense that I can because I think it's going to be a fun group to watch this year.
I think so, too. The Giants, too. The whole East is going to be exciting. I think they all improve their passing games, in that division. And the Giants really don't have that good of a running game. I expect they're going to throw a lot, which, makes Eli Manning a really good. If he wasn't drafted, it's a good pickup, especially if you're missing a quarterback this week.
That's the truth, man. Whew, man, we covered a lot of ground. We're right in the territory where we wanted to be, right about 34 minutes.
Right on.
We'll update y'all on the status of how the Goon and Tooch's draft went probably either later this week or early next, and we'll definitely be talking about that New England-Kansas City game. We're definitely pumped up about that, and we'll also in our next podcast talk a little bit about the previewing Sunday's games.
Yeah, so I have one question for the Goon.
What's that?
It's like the rookie class this year has a lot of promising, offensive players. I was wondering who you really, really like this year. Like maybe not starting yet, but could, materialize like a Jordan Howard did last year.
So not starting?
Not yet starting. Like I gave you Dante Foreman, and I kind of like this kid Marlon Mack on the Colts. Of course, with Matt Jones signing there, I still think Marlon Mack is going to emerge, over in Indianapolis. But who does the Goon like? Like someone you could stash with your 16th pick. Hope that he just like pays off big time. You're a deep sleeper here. Your long shot horse.
My long shot horse this year is a tight end for the New York Jets. They drafted out of Clemson Jordan Leggett, 6'5", 258 pounds. Right now he's behind the depth chart behind Austin Seferian-Jenkins, but Leggett is a very athletic, strong tight end, and they don't have a whole lot of options to throw to right now in the Jets. I mean, I know they got back Jeremy Curley today, but Seferian-Jenkins has had his off-field problems, and I think Leggett could possibly be one of those guys that vaults into a starting position or at least becomes fantasy relevant at some point.
Austin Seferian-Jenkins is suspended the first 2 games.
You are correct though, John. It looks like he is suspended for the first 2 games of the season. So Jordan Leggett, very deep sleeper for the first 2 weeks of the season.
I wasn't sure, but yeah, it's a good. I mean, Leggett, he ticks all the boxes, as far as size and speed. He was really good at Clemson, and if there's no Jenkins, that's a good call if he's starting. And I like this kid Marlon Mack, the Colts. If you haven't seen him, check him out. I just think with Frank Gore, Frank Gore will still have an okay season. Of course they have Robert Turbin, but this kid Mack is special. He's really shifty.
And it's worth noting that the Colts also picked up Matt Jones off waivers.
Right, and I still like Mack. I think Mack's the best back in that stable of running backs, and talent always wins out, Joe.
I would agree with you, John.
That's the same thing I feel about Houston and Foreman. Talent's going to win out. Lamar Miller and Alfred Blue, they're just not as talented as Foreman. I think what's his name, the coach down there,
Brian Kelly. Or no, I'm sorry, Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien. I think Bill O'Brien's going to have no choice but to put this kid Foreman on the field. A lot like John Fox did with Jordan Howard last year.
Yep.
Pretty soon, Jeremy Langford just wasn't producing, and now he's cut. Jordan Howard, he was producing. They had no choice but to start it the rest of the way. And, Howard rumbled on to 1,300 yards.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun season. Lots of rookies, lots of teams, lots of trades, a lot of stuff going on. And Fantasy Football Goon will be here to take you through everything. The Goon and Tooch. So tuned in to Fantasy Football Goon. Tooch and I will be taking you through all your matchups every week. We'll be doing a podcast. We'll both put our rankings up. And check us out on Facebook. Give us a like. Follow us on Twitter at FFBGoon. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit us at fantasyfootballgoon.com. Tooch, as always, thanks for everything, man. It's awesome.
Man, this was a fun one tonight, I'll tell you.
Yes, sir. And it's only going to get more fun. This is going to be a great season.
Yeah, I'm fired up.
We're fired up for football. Everybody, stay tuned. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks a lot.
Good night.